And that's what she told me. She was like, you never took time to truly deal with the weight of that previous relationship. And she was like, you never really healed. And life just literally coming and crumbling down on me. Both of the women, or both of the relationships, both of the paths, family, relationships, and life basically caught fire, burned to smithereens.
Take a look in these eyes, my father's predecessor. Amazing grace from my mother, sheltered the kid from getting rained by the Smith and Wessons. The streets cold, but the world zero. Sub temperatures, my perspective.
Yo, what it do, what it is. We back again with another episode of Comfy at the Crib. I'm your humble and gracious host, Sir Dolo, and it's good to see y'all, man. What up, though?
All right, so boom, next segment, we're going to roll with intentional prayers. So we're doing the 21-day fasting and 21 days of prayer and fasting. I really got into prayer more than I had previously in life because, for one, it was every day. You know, a little bit of it was guided through the app. And of course, it was kind of prayer in community in the online services and whatnot, as far as the 21 days of prayer and fasting, which I think, like I said, was like every day, Monday through Saturday, 5 or 6 o'clock West Coast time. And then the sermons on Sunday would kind of go hand in hand with it. So, you know, it was a process. It was a journey. So I got into the habit of just being really intentional about my prayers, because it was just like, like, people be too general with their prayers. And it's like, nah, be specific. Be specific with what you want. Like, how, not saying how is God supposed to know what you want if you don't open your mouth and be specific, because at the end of the day, God already knows what you want. But sometimes it's the action of the trust to ask him for what you actually want and be direct and be detailed with it that can sometimes just unlock the power behind your prayer, and the power and just blessing for God to come through and do what you ask for, you know, in detail, rather than you asking like, oh God, I want financial increase. Well, technically financial increase can be a $2 raise. When I say $2 raise, I mean $2 for a paycheck, you know, or $2 an hour, whatever you want. But if you be more specific, you know, I believe it gives God more of a chance to meet you where you at. Like, first of all, God is always going to meet you where you at, because he sees you. He's the beginning and the end. He's here, present now, and he's also there in the future. In a sense, he's omniscient and omnipresent. You know what I'm saying? So it's like praying to God with specificity can bring even more power to the deliverance that you actually are seeking. And it's not even necessarily truly for God, but sometimes it's for you, because maybe you haven't actually thought about these things in a detailed and specific manner, the things that you are actually praying for. You've been praying for fruit when you needed to have been praying for seed and needed to be praying about the root. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes being in that prayer closet, being in those quiet moments with God, with repetition and consistency, can help you get to a place of praying for the things that God actually desires to give you. And that specificity can be a key part of it. You know what I'm saying? God wants all of us to have peace and joy and things like that. But a lot of people may only ask for the fruits of it, or for material things like, oh God, please bless me with a house. Well, what do you want the house for? Oh, just have more space to do what? Oh, to not be so cramped up. Okay. And if you're not so cramped up, then what are you going to do with the space? Like, God ain't going to just give you something just because you asking for it, especially if you're not going to steward it well. But if there's a root, and if there's a purpose behind it, and if there's a desire and a longing behind it that is actually good, and it is from a place of being fruitful, not just for yourself, but for others. Like, God has a pattern. That's a whole nother thing. This is things that, like, I didn't know at that time, but since then, and since the spiritual walk and the spiritual growth that I've done since this first initial like intentional praying, these are things that I've learned is like, God gives you the desires of your heart. It's not the desires of your heart that you want. It's the desires that he has, that he places in your heart for you to then ask for it back to him. Right? That's a whole nother thing. But peep this, peep this, peep this. I was really getting into intentional praying. So I was like, yo, I'm praying for my family to be brought back together. By this point, like I said, the girl that I was dating in 2022, she's gone. She off limits. The people I was, dating, situationships or spending time with, kicking it with, whatever, prior to that, they basically all gone. I think only one or two of them was still around, but like I wasn't hitting them up or nothing. Like I was like, nope, I ain't talking to you no more tight. But yeah, everything and everyone that I shouldn't have been dealing with or was communicating with or whatever, it was gone. It was literally just me, right? So I'm just like, all right, let me try this intentional prayer thing. I'm really starting this walk with God. I really need to be right. I really need to do right. I really need to XYZ. So I'm gonna tell God exactly what I want, exactly what I'm feeling, so that way he can come through and deliver. This is my mindset at that time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I was like, God, and I have this prayer written down. I wrote it on February 12th. Let me check my notes. I had an OG prayer set up February 12th of 2023. And I'll probably put this prayer up on the screen, blot out a couple things here and there, but I'm gonna throw the prayer up on here so y'all can see it. But the prayer it wasn't a bad prayer. Let me get it started here. Like I never truly wrote down a prayer. And this is a prayer that I was doing every day because I started doing the Bible verse of the day every single day, which, is the devotional, the prayer, the verse of the day. It would ask a reflection question, 2 or 3 supporting verses, a little bit more guided prayers in between and all of that stuff like that. So this was my like personal prayer section that they have in there, where it's like anything that you want to pray about and that you want to log down, put it here. So I typed it up, and this is what I was praying every single day, in addition to all the other guided prayers and guided verses. This was my personal one that I made up on my own. You know what I'm saying? And it was a good prayer. It was very intentional, very detailed, and at the time I thought it was good. I was like, God, I want to be the husband and the man for that she needs and that she deserves. Bring my family back together so that way, more. I'm summarizing it. So that way I can, have do your will, and Lord, please have your way. Bring us back together, restore us. You know what I'm saying? So I can be everything that she needs and break the generational curses and all of the things like that. That was a part of the prayer. With some other things in there too, like, God, thank you for this, thank you for that, da 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 da. But that part about my family and getting my kid's mom back, and us getting back in a relationship and loving each other and all of that stuff like that, to me, that's where the meat and potatoes really, really was, right? And of course, in hindsight, it's like, ooh, the order was a little wrong. But I'm just really learning. So I'm praying this prayer every day. One of my spiritual sisters that I chop it up with every 1 or 2 weeks, who had actually been with me through the 2022 season, where when the kids had first initially left, and the couple women or situations or people that I were dating and talking to here and there, like I used to update her every now and again. It always was a crazy story. She was like, bro, I already know you be in some stuff. You be where you be meeting these women, this, that, and the third. So like she knows about the progress. She sees everything. She knew about me rededicating my life. She knew about, me, hey, I'm abstinent now. I'm really trying this walk with God. Like she's been with me every step of the way. Love her to death. You know what I'm saying? Love you, sis. And I'm still having a lot of pushback with my kid's mom during this time, because like I am straightening up and flying right and all of this stuff like that, and I'm praying and doing all this stuff, and I'm trying to put my best foot forward, and just doing a lot of dad things, but I'm also doing a lot of great friend things and a lot of great, like, hey, I see you and I love you and I care about you things too. And I'm still getting a lot of pushback when I do stuff for her. Like her responses is just real dry, like, oh, thanks, I appreciate it, you didn't have to do that, stuff like that. And like I'm doing stuff, I'm doing big stuff, I'm doing a lot of stuff that I don't have to do. especially as if we just co-parenting and you don't even see me as a friend, not even really associate. Like she told me, she was like, yo, if it wasn't for the fact that we had these kids, she was like, we probably would never even speak again. She's like, I ain't really got no reason to speak to you ever again because of what we've been through and what transpired if we didn't have these kids. She's like, the kids are the only reason that we still converse. And I got 95% of our conversations every day, because I talk with my kids on FaceTime every day at this time. 95% of the time, it was strictly just me seeing the kids, talking with the kids occasionally. Mom would be in the frame here or there, but like she really not talking to me, barely asking me, hey, how you doing? How was your day? I barely get that. I remember I told her, I was like, dang, I can barely get a, hey, how you doing? How's your day? Like, geez, anytime we would chop it up on the phone after the kids was sleep, it would just be about the review of the day, the update about the day of the kids, any new milestones, anything that happened, like just regular stuff. But after that, it wasn't about to be nothing personal about her. Like, oh, hey, how you? Oh, I'm good, just a little tired. You know, uh, yeah, just a little tired, but I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Gotta go to sleep. And it's the thing, I barely even see her face. The phone would be wherever else. I would just hear the voice. Like she didn't want to be seen. I ain't want to try and see. Like it was just a lot of things that I was noticing. I'm just like, fam, what do I gotta do just to? And I was dealing with a lot of these same things in 2022. Like even when I was dating another woman, I used to tell her like, she's like, oh well, why wouldn't it work? And this, and I told her, I'm like, bro, she don't even see me as a friend. She don't even let me see her face. She don't want to talk to me. Like, why would I believe that we would have a chance? I'm like, everything in this woman is a red flag as far as how she views me. She's told me plenty of times that we are just associate co-parents. That's it. There's no friendship. We're not working towards a friendship. We're not building a friendship. None of that. Cause I remember like the girl I was dating was like, oh, well, maybe this was like early before like feelings got invested and stuff. She was like, oh, well, maybe you can, you never know. And I would tell her, she was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't sound like, I'm like, yeah, I know. So, when the things hit the fan in January with the thing, and she found out some of my, the depth of my true feelings for my kid's mom. Part of her was like, hey, you need to figure out which one you want to do. But part of it was still confusion because she was like, why do you even still feel this way about her? She's like, you told me and have shown me basically through what I told her plenty of times that like there's no chance for y'all to get back together. There is zero chance. She don't want nothing. So like she's like, I don't even understand why you still feel this way about her. But she's like, that's not my issue. She was like, that's your issue. That's your problem. That's for you to figure out. And she was like, and I'm out of here until you figure out, high key, low key. She was like, we not going to speak until you figure out. She was like, you can call me later in the future to let me know one of two things, basically. That I decided to focus on my family and try to get my family back, this, that, and the third. Or not gonna try the family thing, or I tried the family thing, didn't work. It is what it is. We have agreed it's just gonna be co-parents till the day that we die. And so what's up with you? Where you at in life? Because hey, she was a great girl. I I I could see myself with her. I could see myself with that woman for sure. But yeah, she was like, unless you hit me up about one of those two things, either I'm going this way, like Ken, you going this way, or Ken's going this way. But she was like, as long as you are still here in the middle and one foot in here and one foot out, she was like, I don't want nothing to do with you. Love you. Wish the best for you. Our time was great, had a lot of fun, and really could really see myself with you. But when you in the middle like this, she was like, I love myself more than that than to sit here and put myself at risk because you don't know what you want. So, but yeah. I was, like I said, I was still going through this feeling of just not feeling valued, not being seen, not being heard, with my child's mom, even with all the things that I was doing that was beyond co-parenting, and I was doing that out of my own right. And she would always tell me, you don't have to do this. I didn't ask you to do that, this, that, and the third, but I do really appreciate it. She would always remind me. And I think that goes in a little bit of, I won't say like her trauma or anything, but in a sense, you can kind of get it when you have people that are doing something for you and they don't have to do it. sometimes you gotta let people know, remind people, depending on where you at in your friendship or just how y'all feel, that like you just don't want nothing to come back and bite you, for people to be like, oh, but I was doing all this for you and doing all of that, and you not, because then it's like, well, if you was only doing those things for me to get a certain reaction out of me, and now you're mad that you're not getting it, so you're gonna take those things away that you really didn't care about me in the first place. So I'm pretty sure she was really protecting herself from that possibility. So she took every opportunity. She took every opportunity that she could to remind me, you don't have to do this. I didn't ask for this, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, you didn't have to do that. That was really nice of you. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. And when I tell you, like, just dry, I ain't getting no smiley faces, no exclamations, no emojis. I'm getting dry. Thank you. Period. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thumbs up. And I'm just like, what do I have to do? Right. So I'm going through all of this. And I was telling my spiritual sister about this and telling her about my prayer. I was like, no, I'm still being intentional. And she was like, if you don't mind me asking, like, when you be asking God about this, like, what language do you use, more or less? And I told her, I read my prayer to her, and she was like, ooh, bro. She was like, your heart is in the right place. But she was like, that ain't it. She was like, you got to let that go. I'm like, huh? Huh? Let it say, can I say, huh? She was like, bro, you got to release that. She was like, you saying, oh God, if it's not your will, then I still trust you. But she was like, your actions don't say that you trust him. She was like you're not really doing it right. You're praying to God, but like she was like, it's almost like you reminding him to, like, hey God, don't forget that this is what I want. This is what I want. She was like you nagging on him. It's like, you think God don't hear you? You think God don't know that this is what you want? And I'm just like, well, the sermon said, and the verses said, and I was feeling like I gotta be intentional. So every day you gotta, but she's like, yeah, but not like that though. She was like, that ain't it. She was like, you haven't submitted. She was like, you still want to have control. She was like, you still fighting for control of what you want. I was like, but I know it's a good thing for me to want my family back. She was like, yeah, and you still got to submit it to God, to let him do with it what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. You keep reminding him about it, is like you too hands on. I was like, what, you asked me to like give up on it? She was like, you got to stop praying that prayer. She was like, you got to let her go. And I'm just mind blown. I'm like, what do you mean let her go? What do you mean? Like, I want to be with this woman. I know it's good for me to be with this woman because family and all of this stuff and blah, 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 and make it right and X, Y, Z. Why would I give up on it? She was like, it's not really giving up, but she was like, you got to give it to God to let him do whatever he going to do with it. Even if that means he says, nah, y'all not going to get back together. But she's like, you'll never, like, basically, you'll never know truly what God can do with it if you don't actually put it all the way in his hands and stop checking every day, telling him to pull back a finger to see if he's still holding on to it or what he's doing with it. She was like, that's not trust. That's control. That's fear. That's insecurity. She was like, you need to let her go and let that prayer go. Stop praying that prayer. When I tell you, I was on the phone about to tear up, and this is my homegirl, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, bro, this don't make no sense. Like, I hear what you saying, but like, I feel like I'm giving up and this, that, and the third, and I don't want to give up on her. I don't want to give up on us because I'm chickening out. And, in hindsight, it's like I really didn't understand what submission was. That's all it is. And I was also having a very human moment too, but I took my spiritual sister's advice because like I just felt, even though it felt so wrong and it felt so bad to do, I trusted her enough and her counsel to say, you know what, if you say this is what I need to do, I'm gonna try it. And she was like, you got to let it go, like, for real. And it broke my heart. Like, I really didn't know what was going to happen. I really felt like I was giving up on everything. I'm like, I've been abstinent and trying to align myself with this and make sure I'm good and husband and this, that, and the third for her. And she's like, you're doing too much. You're doing a lot of good, but you're doing too much. It's out of order. So I remember going to work that night because I was still working a graveyard shift from like 10 to like 7 in the morning. Because me and her was shopping at like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which basically is morning for me at this time. And I remember feeling terrible. I felt dog terrible when we got off the phone, yo. I felt dog terrible and I cried. I felt like crap going into work because like I ain't get no. I usually take a nap before I went to work. I usually take like an hour and a half nap at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then I wake up at like 9:30, 9:45 to get into work by like 10:30 or whatever. I ain't take no good nap. I felt like crap. I felt defeated. I felt a hole in my chest. And I was just like, all right, I got to do it. So usually at nighttime during the graveyard shift, because it was, it'd be pretty slow at some points. That's when I whip out the Bible, whip out my Living Grace Walking Faith book or my verse of the day. And I would do my verse of the day either before 12 p.m., midnight, before it changed over. So I would do it like that. Or most of the time I would just do it in the morning. So sometime between 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever, before things ramped up for the morning shift, I would do my verse of the day and guided prayer, devotional and stuff like that. So I did it. It was like, all right, man. She said, I got to do it. I got to do it. I still feel like crap. I still feel like I'm giving up all this. Lord, help me, X, Y, Z. I really want to see if I can find that day. But either way, I remember I did it. And I remember I had to stay back at work for like an extra 30, 45 minutes because I had to meet with like one of my supervisors about something. I remember staying at work like an extra 30 minutes. And to get away from the clutter of the office, I went into like one of the little quiet rooms on the side. So it was just an empty room with a chair. But I was like, hey, it's quiet and it's out the way. So I knew I still had like 15 minutes left before I could meet with my supervisor before they finished with the meeting or whatever the case may be. So I was like, oh, well, this would be a good time to decompress and see about giving up that prayer. So I finished the devotional and whatnot, and I got to that last section. If y'all know the verse, if y'all do the verse of the day daily, y'all know what section I'm talking about in the prayer portion, where it gives you some guided prayer, give you some scriptures to go in tandem with whatever the verse of the day was, and then there's that personal prayer section. So I was like, all right, man, here goes. So I didn't delete, and I'm so glad I did not, because man, I didn't delete the prayer. I just did like a little paragraph or two. I wrote like the little line or whatever to separate it. And then I actually put the new prayer on top instead of on the bottom because you got to scroll. So I put the new prayer on top, old prayer on bottom, and I dated when that prayer was created and when I retired it. And then in that next breath, I started writing my new prayer. And I remember it was, whew, thank you, Jesus. That prayer was definitely straight from the Spirit. It was all submission. It was all right. We're not going to do this prayer like how we've been doing the last prayer. This one going to be different. She said, I got to give up about it. I was like, I'm not going to say nothing about getting my family back. I'm not going to say nothing about getting back into relationship with my kid's mom. I'm not going to say nothing about bringing us back together. And this is crazy because like these are all the things that I know that I want and I know that I desire and I want to pray for and I want to ask for, because I'm just like, only God can give me that. So ask him, asking you shall receive, right? So it's like I can't even ask no more. But I was like, I'm gonna try it. She said I gotta really submit it. And I wrote a whole new prayer and I still use that prayer to this day. To this day. I still use this prayer to this day. And I wrote it down. The OG prayer was created February 12th, 2023. I retired and replaced it April 27th. So April 27th. It was like a Thursday or a Friday or something at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning or something. And I wrote this new prayer down. It started off with Matthew 6:33. But first and foremost, from the new international version. But first and foremost, I will seek, aim at, and strive after. Actually, no, that's not new international version. This is the AMP version, the amplified version, which it go into a little more detail, put a little more sauce on it. But first and most importantly, I will seek, aim at, and strive after God's kingdom and God's righteousness, his way of doing right, his way of being right, the attitude and character of God. And in doing so, all these things will be given unto you also. So do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. That tell you how much I've been praying that prayer. Cause boy, I ain't never really memorized no verses unless it was like a little asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find. Like real simple little stuff like that. But a whole two big girthy verses like that, I ain't never been able to remember or point out or nothing like that. So that tell you I've been praying this prayer for a long time, every day. You know what I'm saying? And I started out that new prayer with that because I'm pretty sure that probably was either the verse of the day or it had just popped up a lot within those past couple of weeks and months and it stuck out to me. So I made sure to copy that verse down in the Amplified Bible version on top of my prayer because that's truly what I have learned, that like that's what this life is all about, is God's kingdom and God's righteousness, and to seek him and put him first. It's not, oh, seeking you will find, asking you shall receive, for the sense of like, oh, I'm getting what I want. You like, people are only seeking because they want to find something for them. So it's kind of selfish. People are only asking because they want to receive something for themselves. Kind of selfish in a sense, you know, overly generalizing it right now. But flow with me, flow with me. So this prayer, Matthew 6:33 through 34, is saying what I'm actually prioritizing and what I will actually seek and strive after to first. It says first and most importantly. So like numero uno is I am seeking God's kingdom. So his way of kingdom, his order, his power, his authority, and his righteousness. So his way of doing right, his way of living, his way of being right, his attitude, his character. That's what my priority in life should be, not my relationships or my finances or what I can receive. My life is to be of service to him. I'm modeling my life after him. And then it said, as a byproduct of that, I will be taken care of, you know, like I paraphrase it a lot more now. I said, and in seeking God's kingdom and righteousness, I know that you promise and I know you will deliver because you've been sustaining me all my life. You will meet all my needs. Because in the verses prior to that, it talks about how like the birds and the bees and all the animals and stuff, you don't see them worrying about what they're going to eat and what they're going to sleep and stuff like that. Yet God still provides them shelter and food every single day. And it's like, but, and how much more important are you, humans, his children, his holy set apart people? How much more important are you than the birds and the bees and the foxes and and all of that? If God supplies for them and they ain't got to worry about nothing and they just animals, then how you think God feels about you, his child? So I pray that verse every day um starting from April 27th. And then from there, it really went into a real grown-up prayer. A real grown-up prayer, asking God for forgiveness, thanking him for his grace, his mercy, his forgiveness, his love for loving me first, asking him to make me more like him, which I learned that's a real dangerous prayer, but asking him to renew my mind and renew my spirit so that way it reflects more of him and less of me, to remove any impurities and refresh my soul, any darkness that's in me, to help take it out of me. But before he takes it out of me, like reveal it to me so I can actually be aware of it, you know, all of these things like that. And as far as my kids' mom and my kids and my family situation, the only thing I asked, first of all, I thanked him for them. I thanked them for him. And I asked that he continue to bless them. That's it. I thank him for my family, for my kids' mom, for my kids, my friends, the homies, all of that stuff like that. But specifically for my kids' mom and my kids, the only thing I say about them and ask about them is thank you, God, for my family, my friends, and my loved ones. And I ask that you continue to bless them all their life. And I felt so bad doing that prayer because I'm just like, it's like I'm watering it down, but it was like, God knows what you want. But I'm like I said, I'm still tussling. Like, if he knows what I want, I should be confident in saying it, because intentional prayer. I was in the rock and hard place, but I was taking that leap of faith to say, all right, if this is going to be that new prayer, this is going to be that prayer. And I remember writing it, rereading it, editing a little bit, finalizing it, saying it out loud, still feeling defeated. And I was like, well, I did it. I submitted it. I've let her go. God, if it's what, let your will be done. I ain't going into detail. Lord, if you want me to be with her, please let me be with her. But if you don't want me to be with her, please give me the peace to be all right and stuff like. I ain't do all that. Your kingdom come, your will be done, Lord. That's what you said. Have your way. And please just help me. Help guide me. Protect me. Love me. Comfort me. I need your help. That's it. So yeah, that's how that prayer went. And I went home at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning because the mid shift has ended. And retired the old prayer, but I kept it though. I kept it, I think, just for reference. Cause I like to keep things I have for reference, you know. But yeah, I prayed the new prayer. I stamped the new date of when it was created and all of that stuff like that.